Greetings, everybody. How are you doing? Happy World Wildlife Day. So tomorrow, annually, is celebrated World Wildlife Day, an event created by the United Nations. And yesterday and today, since it's the weekend, I'm teaching you about how to draw some wildlife from around the world. So yesterday we did seahorses and something else that I already forget because I'm short memory. But today we're going to draw another animal that reminds me a bit of seahorses because they have really interesting eyeballs like a seahorse. They can move them independently. And they also have a prehensile tail. That means a tail that can hold on to things to steady them. So what are we drawing today? Chameleons. So chameleons are super cool. I'm trying to cover some different animals this weekend that live in different parts of the world and live in the land and the sea and the air. And so these guys are mostly in Madagascar. But it's thought that they actually evolved in Africa. And so there are some species in Africa, Madagascar, even Southern Europe, and India. And so we're going to draw these together, and then I'll share more details as we go. So get a pencil and paper, and don't feel bad if you can't draw the same way I can. In fact, when I'm trying to draw and talk at the same time, it's not as accurate as when I'm just drawing, since drawing is a very right-brained activity. So the main thing that I want you to think about when you're drawing is all that you're learning about the animal by looking at it long enough to draw it. And so that's what I always teach. My motto is drawing to learn while learning to draw. And so I use drawing as a conservation tool to teach people, especially youth and environmental educators, about the natural world through the process of slowing down long enough to draw it. So anyway, we are going to draw this chameleon. And this is a panther chameleon, this species, and I'm kind of dressed like a panther chameleon as well. This is the largest species of chameleon, and they're from northern Madagascar, which is a very large island off of the east coast of Africa. And there are many other species that live there too that are unique, not only more endemic chameleons, but also lemurs and a lot of other cool things like baobab trees. So let's get started. I'm going to make this larger so that you can see it. There we go. And you can see a little bit of the rest of things here. So we've got a couple that are different colors, and that's one of the famous things about chameleons is they can change color. And they're very beautiful, and so they're often captured for the pet trade for people to keep them in terrariums, and that is one of the threats. But they don't live very long, and they don't really like being captive. So it's better to leave them in their forested home. Now, some of them do live in forests, and some live in deserts. But anyway, a very unique thing is they can change color. And they change color based on their mood and their temperature and whether they're trying to blend into their surroundings because of predators or because of hunting prey. And also the males are much more colorful. This panther chameleon is super colorful compared to his female mate. She's about half his size. He can get up to 20 inches long, including his tail, and the females are about half that size, and they're very dull brown, kind of like this paper here, so that they blend into their surroundings, just like many female birds. And then, so they can also change color based on their mood. So if the males are courting a female, or if they're fighting with other males, they're going to change color. So if you can post a comment, I'd love to know if you can see me or hear me, or if you're going to follow along. And so we're going to move this one. and we're going to draw this one. And I had my sketch here somewhere. We're going to try to kind of get this. Now we're just going to work on his outline first, and then we might do the patterns and some shading later on. But the things you want to do first is we're just going to get the basic shape. And the more you look at something first before you start drawing it, the better. And so we can look that he's kind of this oval all together. And he's got this big arched back, this very big boxy head, and then this oval body. And he's gripping really tightly onto the branch with his arms and his legs and his little toes. And they have really unique toes. They're kind of like the way an owl or a toucan would grip the branch, in that they have two toes that go backwards and then three toes that go forwards. So you can see three toes here and two toes here. So they are very tight. Now this back leg here, it's gripping its own tail there. I think it meant to be gripping the branch, but it's gripping the tail, which is sort of cute. So yeah, okay, so let's start drawing these, and then as we're drawing it, I'll talk to you about the parts. And again, this is the way I use drawing as a conservation tool. And so, you know, we're going to talk about each part as we go. But first, we're going to basically just block in the whole thing. So I'm going to do just a very light arc. And kind of like this. So this is where he is generally. And so we kind of have a head in this area. So I just stay super light. And then the main body in this area. And then the tail actually comes way down here. And just wrapping around the branch. And then so we can put the branch in. And then we're going to get that leg that's there holding the tail. And then the front arms. The front left arm is holding the branch right there. And you see a little bit of the front right arm. Okay, so you see how very, very light this is to start out with. So welcome live viewers. I'm glad you're joining. So we're drawing this panther chameleon from northern Madagascar. And I'm just blocking in the basic shapes of this big blocky triangular head, the oval body, the tail. And I'm not going to do any erasing. I'm just staying super light. And then I'll do some erasing at the very end. But it really helps to see your incorrect line because sometimes if you just try to keep erasing and drawing a better line, you just keep making the same mistake often. So it's better to just to leave the lines that aren't correct for now. Okay, so now we're going to concentrate on its head. And you see it's kind of got this flat shield on top. And then it's got the round eyeball, and this whole part can telescope around like this. And the eyeball is actually in there. And then it's got a mouth. And another really interesting thing about chameleons is they have an interesting tongue. And I might as well just draw a cute little tongue. With this big sticky part on the end, and it can capture something at lightning speed with that sticky tongue. So we could add a little fly or something here. Okay, so we'll draw that later. Okay, so then let's go back and work on this head part. So I'm going to work some more on his forehead. So there's the snout, and then a little arch for the right eye, and then the rest of this sort of shield, and a little arch for the left eye, and then down into the shield. All righty. And then we're going to add the eye. Again, that's super unique, but a little bit similar to the seahorse you may have drawn with me yesterday that have eyes sort of like chameleons that can rotate independently and see stereoscopically. And then there's that little eyeball. And I might fill it in except for a little bit of a highlight. I'm not sure if you can see that I left a highlight. Okay, and then let's draw its little upper lip there. And then the mouth goes back here. So like I said, these guys eat insects, and they flick that tongue out really quickly. So I can make a fun little tongue here if you want. With a little fly on it or something. And I can actually, let's just have his mouth be open a little bit for fun. So he can have that tongue coming out. All righty, and then so his lower jaw, and then the actual jaw kind of goes like this, but then he's got this big part that's kind of zigzaggy, and it reminds me a bit of an iguana, and these are actually distantly related to iguanas. So they're in the, not the same family, but the same bigger grouping. You see, I have a ton of notes with me here that we'll talk about later as you can keep drawing while I'm talking. Okay, so now let's work on his front legs. So mainly we see his left leg, and it's gripping that branch again, then with that really unique arrangement of the 5 claws, where 2 of them are held really closely together on one side of the branch and 3 on the other side. And so I'm going to get the shoulder here, and then the arm, and then the gripping fingers. And then there you go. So I've got 2 fingers in the front and 3 wrapping around the back. They're going to kind of wrap around like this, and then the branch will sort of go up here. And I might as well strengthen this branch line so it looks like he's actually holding something. And again, this is a he. Okay, and then the other arm, you can see just a little bit of, and it's kind of going like here, and then you see it here a little bit. And so I'm just going to shade that a bit, put it in the shadow there. Okay, so now let's get the rest of this arc of the back and around with the tail. And we're just going to draw kind of a very light line to get the arch right, arch, something like that. And then we'll add the zigzaggy parts that I was saying remind me of the iguana. Like I said, these guys are distantly related. So that's good. That's close enough. And then so then I can do the zigzaggy. kind of soft spines. And they seem to get a little bit smaller on the back. Oh yeah, the tail is going behind. That's right, the tail is going behind this branch. There we go. I will get rid of that there. Okay, and then the tail keeps going. Gotta get this tail a little skinnier than I did yesterday. With my seahorse tail, it was too big. Okay, now I can't finish this until I get this left rear leg because it's on top of the tail. So let's show that leg. So here's the knee and then the ankle, I guess you would call it. So that's about right here. And then here. And then it's gripping on with kind of two fingers. There we go. Now I can finish the branch. And then now I can finish the rest of the tail. So the tail comes around here. And then another one part comes here. Kind of like that. Okay, I think that's good enough. All right, and then you can just see a little bit of the right rear toes, and there you can see 3 toes. So, and I am gonna erase this a little bit so I can put it on top. So here's the top of the foot, and then 1 toe and 2 toes and 3 toes. There we go. Okay. Now, this branch looks a little wimpy. I'm going to add a little bit of part over here. Branch doesn't look strong enough to hold him. Shadow the branch a little bit. And the branch is going under his body, so it would be in shadow here. And it would be shadowed here too. The branch has some interesting patterns to it too. Of course, you could spend a lot of time on that if you wanted to, making the branch look a little bit more realistic. All right. Anyway, so then, oh, we forgot his belly now. We got to get the belly, and that's a little, so a continuation of the neck here, and then the belly, and it's a little zigzaggy too from those little soft spines. Okay. So now I will use my eraser because I did have all these individual try lines. And this one up here. But I try not to go back and forth with erasing too much. I try to do most of my drawing super lightly, and then I just darken the parts that I think are most correct, and then I'll do one big episode of erasing like I am now. And that's just based on the fact that I do most of my sketching in the field when I'm traveling. I've never sketched a chameleon in the field because I haven't been to Africa or Madagascar yet. But oops, my pencil. There we go. Oops, it's dying. Okay. All righty. So I did want to mention that if you like these workshops and you'd like to help support them, before we go on any farther with this guy, I just want to show you, here is a sketch painting that I did in the field in Costa Rica. But I just wanted to show you my website is christineelder.com and slash donate. On that page, you'll see the donate button for both PayPal, which also has credit cards, and Venmo. So I really appreciated the donations I got yesterday, and that's what's allowing me to focus on this today. So again, christineelder.com/donate. Okay, so now you would think that the next thing you would do would be all of these patterns, but I'm not going to do that yet. I want to spend a little bit more time getting him really three-dimensionally rounded. And that always helps to know where your sun is coming from. So there's my sun, the hot sun beating down on him. Although I think this species lives in the forest, but some definitely live in the deserts. And if you're following along, I'm just going to give you some time to kind of catch up a bit and just tell you a few more things, a few things about chameleons. And might as well share my screen again because that's probably a little more fun. So, oh, wait, I have some notes here because I haven't studied chameleons for quite a while. I did a workshop on them a super long time ago, years ago, and I haven't drawn them since. But chameleons, of course, are reptiles. So they're distantly related to snakes and lizards. And like I said, they're most closely related to iguanas. They're, of course, cold-blooded. They lay their eggs on land, and they have internal fertilization. So within that group is the family, the chameleons. And so, like we mentioned, they have a lot of unique characteristics, including these eyes where they don't really have eyelids, but they can rotate the whole eye and see stereoscopically. So they can see their predators and their prey. And they do have nostrils. I didn't get any nostrils, but they don't have any external ear opening, but they can kind of feel a lot of, if there's vibrations like on a tree branch. And then, like we mentioned, they have this interesting coloration. The males are much more colorful, and they really use that coloration to communicate with each other and also with females when they're courting. But they can also change their color and become much more dull or bright if they're in a bad mood, or if they're scared, or if it's cold. And the females are much more of a dull brown. And then we mentioned their sticky tongue. So that's another unique thing about them is they have one of the fastest movements in the animal kingdom. They can jet that tongue out about a foot long out onto an insect. And they are diurnal hunters. So it's easy to see them hunting if you get the chance to go where they live. And they're generally arboreal, and so they're using that really interesting arrangement of the 2 and the 3 toes, kind of like this, like I mentioned, sort of like an owl or a toucan. And so it's even kind of hard to tell that they don't have like pads here. They are actually very closely fused toes. And they use those to hold tight onto the branches. And they move very, very slowly. And they have a really interesting behavior where they'll go back and forth and back and forth. And you may have seen that when they're kind of going like this, walking really slowly. And that helps them just look like maybe like a leaf on the ground, or a leaf shaking in the tree. So they're really cute that way. And there are about 200 species of chameleons, and 184 of those or 92% of them are threatened. And of course, they're threatened from being collected for the pet trade. They're threatened from deforestation and, of course, climate change. Um, and most of them are in Madagascar, including the world's smallest, which I've seen pictures of. I follow this guy on Instagram. His name's Ivan Carter, and he had one on the tip of his finger. It's the smallest little thing ever. So they go from the world's smallest, which is the microleaf chameleon, to the world's largest, which is this one, the panther chameleon, which gets to be over a foot long. And then, yeah, most of the world's chameleons, let's see. Oh, yeah, nearly half of all species are found only on Madagascar, which is that very interesting large island off the east coast of Africa that has many, many endemic species, including many, many lemurs. So that's 85 species of chameleons, and they're all endemic. They live nowhere else in the world. And of course, Madagascar has been threatened from population growth and deforestation and burning for agriculture and mining. So it's really threatened throughout for all the species. And of course, since we're acknowledging World Wildlife Day today, we are talking about threats to wildlife. And then, so now hopefully if you've been sketching along and maybe you caught up, I'm going to keep going. So what I was saying is that before we start adding any color patterns, I really like to add the three-dimensional form and then to put the color on top of that. And one really good example I have of that is here. This is one of my sample exercises for my students in my courses. And I do have all of these courses online. You can probably find them in one of the links somewhere, depending on where you're watching. But I have a bunch of different courses. And so this, when you're thinking of drawing anything, you want to think about the values first, or the lightness and darkness, and think about a value scale. So like a value of 0 would be the white of the paper, and a value of 5 might be the darkest black ivory onyx you could get. And so even with this very beautiful African bird, the blue-eared kingfisher, which probably lives in the same habitat as some species of chameleons, but not the panther one we're drawing today, you can see how I rendered it pretty closely, because no matter what color you have, each color has a different value. So you see how just using, what was I using here? Oh, I was just using black watercolor at different darknesses or values. And then I added on some little white streaks on top with Dr. P.H. Martin's bleed proof white, probably, I think. So you can see how detailed that is. And so you can get a lot of realism without adding color. And that's a nice thing to know when you're in the field and you don't really have time. Maybe you can take a photo of something real quick, but then you can just render it in gradations of these values from white to black. Okay, so anyway, that's a little bit of what I'm going to do here. And I've got a really fun, fast way that I do that. And you may have seen me demonstrate this before. But what I do is I get, let me see, let me make this larger here again. So you may have seen me do this before, but I take charcoal pencils and then I rub them on a piece of this sandpaper. Now, if you didn't have that, you could do the same thing with graphite pencils. And if you didn't have a piece of sandpaper, you could use an emery board, like the kind that you file your nails with. So I'll make this kind of pile of charcoal or graphite that I can draw with, almost like I can kind of paint with. And then I'll take this little blending stomp And if you didn't have that, you could just use a Q-tip. And then I will start adding that to my chameleon. And so there aren't really any parts of this chameleon that are a bright white. And he's shadowed here because we see the sun. So he is shadowed down here. So it's a little bit hard to get off of the idea of thinking in color and just thinking in values. But we'll try here. So I'm going to take some of this charcoal here and rub it on here. And then I'm just going to start, well, I'm going to do some easy stuff to get used to it first here. I can do it a little bit on our branch. And it's good to start practicing with something that doesn't mean so much yet. That we're not too intimidated by. But this is just a really fast method. And it's super easy to lift off and erase if you don't quite like what it looks like. So I'm just going to be really kind of casual with my branch here. Okay, that was fun. So you see, that's pretty much the darkest value of anything on this image. And the bottom is shadowed the most. Now, if you're watching and you have any questions, I think you can put them in the chat box. And I really appreciate it when people comment, because then I know there's live people here and I'm not just talking to myself, although I do see a couple of like buttons. So I really appreciate that. So anyway, then let's see. Let's do his tongue, and his tongue's going to be pretty light because it's pretty pink. So we won't put much on there. Okay. And then I'm going to be doing just a little bit everywhere here. So I'm going to start and this might seem too dark, but I can always erase it later. So it's really easy to do that. You can just go like this and lift it if you want. And so, yeah, because it's easy to have a bunch of it come on in the beginning. Now, sometimes I will use a paintbrush for this part because it makes it come on really easily. But I can be pretty messy with this guy because he's got all these patterns. Anyway, so it's not that we have to be perfect. We're just trying to get a medium value here, just like we did, just like I showed you with the kingfisher. And even if you don't have this, because I didn't tell you to get this beforehand, but you know, you can just emulate the same idea of thinking about values. With a pencil. I want his eye to be super dark. I'm actually going to add a little bit of that. And then, so see, it's like I'm drawing with this. And if I wanted to, I've got all these pencils. If I wanted to, I could just go ahead and use a pencil directly on here. Because like actually this guy has all these interesting circles. And then I could, you know, darken the mouth here. Yeah. So anyway, so yeah. So then if I wanted to make some more of this charcoal to paint with, I just go like that. And then I just blend some more of it. And this can take quite a while. You see like how dark it is here. Oh, and one thing that can help you see these values is if I turn this upside down, for a moment, it's a lot easier for you to see the values and even also the shapes too, to get a little bit more accurate. And so this helps you to see the shadows, like you can really see the difference in the values of the belly versus the knee, right? And also under the chin versus the hand, right? And so I really like doing that once in a while. So like in that case, you know, I would lighten up that elbow there and that knee area. And again, I could just keep getting a little bit more bold with the three-dimensional form here. And again, it's a little bit hard to have your brain see the three-dimensional form when it's so brightly colored. But that's really good practice. And yeah, if I want to get it really dark, like the shadowed, this fun branch has just all kinds of fun shadows in it and lines. Okay. What else? So yeah, so we could just keep going here and just be looking around where we could get some shadows in before we actually add any more patterns or any patterns. Because it's easy. Oops, got that a little bit too dark. But again, super easy to lighten that up again. And yeah, so then now that we've got him a little bit more three-dimensional with the underneath here shadowed a bit. The tail is a little bit thicker here. That looks better. So I'm always kind of holding 2 or 3 different things at once when I'm drawing. All righty. So then once you get a little bit of three-dimensional form with the belly shadowed here, And you can push those values even more if you want, like I have here. Blend it a little bit more. Then you could start adding these patterns if you want. And you don't have to be exact at all because, like I said, they can change at a moment's notice. And so it's not the end of the world if you don't have the patterns quite right. But we do see these interesting greenish patterns. And so if we wanted to, we could kind of add those sort of now. Oh, I forgot to ask, if you're watching this and you're enjoying it, please click the follows buttons or subscribe buttons. And please click share so you can share this with other nature-loving friends, wildlife-loving friends. Again, we are celebrating this weekend World Wildlife Day, which is tomorrow, but I figured more people might be home and wanting to draw with me today. So the more you know about an animal's behavior, like how they can change these colors at a moment's notice, and it doesn't have to be exact because everyone is going to look a little bit different, kind of like zebras look different, you know. They got their stripes, but they still are unique. The more you learn about the biology of an animal, the more accurately you can draw it, and also know that if it just happens that your drawing doesn't quite match, then there's some parts of that are okay if it still is true biologically. I got to emphasize the shadows under this guy's toes there. Then that shows up a little bit better. Okay, now he's starting to look really real, huh? Isn't this fun? So now I think I might continue because I'm just having fun here. And again, I would love to see any comments. What else can I say about this guy? I have all of these notes here, and I think I told you a lot of these. Oh yeah, this is called the helmet or the shield. And some species even have horns. So I'm going to darken him up with this charcoal pencil. And so I'm just going to, again, start here and this guy has a lot of patterns on his mouth too, I see. A lot of reptiles, you can see those patterns there. So yeah, I'm just adding some details. And adding some more shadows, more distinct shadowing. What else? And then up on top, I've never seen a chameleon in the wild, but I've seen lots of their relatives, the iguanas, when I've been in Central and South America and Florida. These guys Yeah, have all those little spines. And then the tail. And then again, that really unique arrangement of the toes where they're fused 2 and 3. All right, he's looking kind of fun, isn't he? And you could go overboard with this, but you can kind of add some more patterns. They do have these little shapes here and there. It could take forever to do that, but you could have some fun, just a little bit. Generally, you see the patterns in something not where it's most highlighted or most shadowed, but kind of in the middle. That's where you can see the three-dimensional form most. So that's why I'm adding some of these patterns here. Just these little circles. These charcoal pencils go dull really quickly, so that's why I have so many of them, so that I can switch around and you don't have to wait around. So where was I? Oh yeah, I was adding a little bit of these circles. I hear the jays outside. It's been raining here and it just stopped, so the animals are having a little bit of fun chatting. Yeah, you see all these interesting lines. So a person could have a lot of fun with this. I actually see sort of a shadow here around the edge of the jaw that I didn't notice before, right here, which makes sense. There, that helps. Cool. He's looking fun, isn't he? And, again, if I got some things too dark, I can easily lighten them up like that if I want to. Sometimes it's actually easier for me to draw looking on the screen because then I can see what I'm doing more than actually looking down at the piece of paper here. Isn't he cute? And again, we're really trying to look at values here. So I really want to emphasize that this branch is being shadowed by its body. So I'm just going to emphasize that a bit more. And just have a little bit more fun with this. I see that part right there. I don't know what that is, but it is shadowed in there some more. Anyway. Okay. And then the tongue, I could get the end of the bottom of the tongue a bit. And again, we could pretend there's some sort of insect that it caught. They have this lightning fast tongue. Okay. So I'd love to know in the comments, just tell me if you're following along or if you're having fun, enjoying this. Let's see, what am I reading about these guys? Yeah, like I said, this is, let me bring myself back here. So we are celebrating World Wildlife Day this weekend, and I did 2 sketching events for you yesterday. The seahorse, which has a similar prehensile tail, and the rotating eyes. And then we also did a kangaroo. So I'm trying to get different animals and from different habitats. So, we did the kangaroo from Australia, and we did this guy from Africa, this chameleon, and we did the seahorse from the coral reefs. And I would like to do at least one more today if I can get my technology to work. And if you could donate, I would really appreciate it to help me help fund these, because there are other things I could be doing with my time. And it's really a way for you to show me that you value these and you want me to do them more, is if you donate. So again, that's on my website at christineelder.com/donate. And then there's links to both PayPal, which also accepts credit cards, and Venmo. And I know those links work because I did get some donations yesterday, and that's why I was able to continue on today. So I'm going to get going. I hope you enjoyed learning a bit about chameleons. Again, they are very unique, not closely related to anything else. Many of them are endangered. Many of them, majority of them actually live just in Madagascar and are endemic there. And they do have the unique coloration, the unique eyes, the unique quick acting tongue, and that prehensile tail. So I hope you enjoyed following along today, and be sure to follow me, and then you'll get noticed next time I go live. And please share these events with other people, and I really appreciate it. So happy World Wildlife Day. I got to get going. Ciao.